Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm doing another engine teardown, and as you see, it is a Briggs Stratton engine again from a lawn tractor. This is a single cylinder 18.5 overhead valve engine. Customer said it doesn't want to turn over anymore. He thinks it's pooched. So I've got it on the table. It's going to be similar as what I did in my previous video where I did an engine teardown from a lawn tractor. Now, a question I want to address is, in the last video, a lot of people asked me, why didn't you just put a screwdriver down the spark plug hole and turn the flywheel to see if the piston turned? Well, I could have done that, but because of dealing with small engines every day, and especially these engines, I already knew that it wouldn't move. And I did want to tear it all apart to show you guys inside the engine. It makes for a better educational video. And sometimes I forget that some people may not know certain things. So I probably just took it for granted that most people would know that. However, in today's video, I will take a screwdriver, put it in the spark plug hole, and show you if the piston is moving up and down. So let's get right into it. So first of all, I'm just going to take off the cover. I've already had the bolts loose here. This will just make it easier to turn the flywheel. And the carburetor has already been taken off this engine here as well. Okay, so I've got the spark plug out. I will put my screwdriver in here and turn the flywheel. And you can see right here I am turning it, and you can see that the screwdriver is not moving up and down. So in this case here, I'm 100% sure that the connecting rod is snapped. So if your piston doesn't move, the rod is snapped. If the piston goes up and down continually, then the rod is not snapped. So what can happen sometimes is, even if the rod is snapped, the piston might move a little bit and then it won't after that. So what you would want is for the piston to continually go up and down to know that the rod is good. So in this case here, nothing's moving. So I'm definitely sure the connecting rod is snapped. So I'm just going to proceed with the disassembly here. And a lot of parts you want to keep when you take these engines apart are the head, starter, the flywheel. As I mentioned in the previous video, these flywheels are like over $300 here in Canada. And the head also is over $300 retail here in Canada as well. And sometimes there's other parts inside here, like the camshaft, that might still be good. So if that part is good, I save that as well. So let's get right into the teardown. I will need a 1/2 inch socket, and I'll do this on my impact. Let's check the push rods. This one looks nice and straight as well. They're both straight. I'm not sure what this little corrosion mark is for here. Looks like something happened here, or maybe it was manufactured that way. Okay, let's get the coil off. I always save the coil as well. So on these engines, the cylinder is part of the block. Okay, let's get the starter off. And I'm using a Torx number 40. And I don't see any cracks in the block on this engine. Nowhere. Now the fan on this one is bolted. Usually it's not. Now, since it's an old engine that's blown up, I am not using my puller to remove the flywheel. I'm just going to use my hammer and this little pry bar. So I'm just going to insert the pry bar and put a bit of pressure on it. There we go. All the magnets are good on this flywheel, so I'm going to save that for sure. And you can also save the stator if it's good, because sometimes they get damaged. If the magnets come off your flywheel, they can destroy your stator here. And I've seen them where they've even broke off the bolts off the block and then there was oil coming out after. So it's always good to make sure your stator is tight to make sure it doesn't come off. And also when you pop the flywheel off like I did, make sure to wear safety glasses. And again, I'm going to save the throttle assembly on this one too. And save the governor spring as well here. There it is. And check out this oil drain, guys. This is the way to go. You can buy all these parts at your hardware store in the plumbing section. The only thing I would do different on this drain pipe here is I would just buy the plug at the hardware store that is made of metal and get rid of this plastic thing here. But yeah, this is great, man. It doesn't make a mess. And I've got my impact with the 1/2" socket to take off the sump. This is where we're going to see where all the damage is. And one last bolt hiding under here. Okay, now I'm just going to tap it lightly. And as usual, there will always be oil coming out of the engine even though I drained it fully. Wow, man, look at this. Wow, look at all the fragments. Look at that. Man. Well, yeah, I'm just not used to seeing a whole bunch of tiny fragments like this. Usually it's like big chunks, but this one here really ground down the parts. And look at the big chunks coming out of here. Now what I want to see is if the camshaft is still good. Nope, it's not. So usually when a camshaft is good, it will have the decompressor right here, this part that I'm moving and goes back. That's your decompressor. Now if I look at the one that just came out of the engine, that entire part is gone. So if I were to put that in an engine, it would be impossible to turn it over because the compression would just be too high. So this camshaft is garbage. So let's see if I can get the crankshaft out. I'm going to push up the piston here. There we go. And look at the journal on this one, how it's damaged, scored. This is usually what the journal on the crankshaft looks like. This is where your connecting rod bolts. So when they're bad like this, I don't bother keeping the crankshaft. Now let's compare this to the one that I took out of the engine in my last video. This one is nice and smooth. This one could actually be reused. I'm going to push the piston right through here. So the cylinder is good. That's all good. No cracks in the block. So you know what, guys? I can probably save this block. Oh, it's cracked right here. No, it looked like a crack. I thought for a second it was cracked, but it was just some kind of dirt or hair. But I don't see any cracks anywhere no significant damage inside. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to save this block, and I could probably use the other crankshaft which I've just put on the floor here and actually make one engine from all these parts, and all I'd have to get is a new connecting rod and the dipper, the oil dipper, gasket here, and an engine could be saved. And the governor looks like it's okay. Now I'm not sure why this engine blew up, because there was a lot of oil in it before I drained the oil from the engine. But then it's always hard to get the truth from customers. They can blow up the engine and then refill it with some other old oil from another engine or something like that. But anyway, I've got some parts. I'm going to save the block. Maybe in the future I can make an engine out of it. And I've got the parts from the engine from the last video. They're all in this one here as well. There's no shortage of these blown up engines, guys. Basically, I tear down a couple a month here in the summer every month because there's a lot of them that blow up. The engines that I never see that are blown up are a lot of the single cylinder Kohler engines, Kawasaki, and believe it or not, all the power mower engines on lawn tractors, I've never seen one of those blown up yet. The only ones that I see blown up a lot are the Briggs single cylinders. And rarely do I see the Briggs V twin blown up. That's extremely rare, and that's usually because of the user neglect. But these engines here are very fragile, and again, as I've mentioned in other videos, make sure you religiously change the oil in your engine. And in the summertime, if you want to run a straight 30, that's even better for it because it's nice and thick. Nice and thick oil in there. So that's what I do with my own lawn tractors. I run HD30. I've got that snapper you saw in another video with the V-twin engine. I put HD30 in there, Castrol HD30. It's nice and thick. So that's it for today's video, guys. Any comments, suggestions, please comment below the video. And again, guys, don't forget to do the screwdriver trick. Just stick it in the head, move the flywheel before you do a tear down, unless you're 100% sure it's the connecting rod, which I was in the previous video anyway, but I just kind of forgot to mention that. Thanks again for watching, and you guys have a great day.